World Economic Forum released a global competitiveness ranking in which Nigeria's position dropped. Now, in this interview with Harriet Agbi, Johnson Chukwuka, is the CEO of Carry Assets Management, talked about the implication of this ranking for the economy.
Now, the World Economic Forum recently released its Global Competitiveness Index ranking, and Nigeria was ranked 127th out of 144 countries profile. What's your take on this ranking?
Well, initially I felt that the ranking was not fair to Nigeria, but when I looked at all the indicators that were used as basis for arriving at Nigeria's lower standing World Competitiveness Index, I agree with most of those indicators, and I feel that what we need to do is go back and work more to address those issues that have been highlighted.
Now, the index revealed that the decline in ranking was as a result of weak public finance sector, low margins in oil exports, challenges with strong institutions, and challenges with security. But Nigeria isn't the only African country that is facing all of this situation.
Yes, that's why I said that I agree with most of those parameters that were used, with the exception of public finance, issue of public finance in terms of Nigeria's earnings. Well, while I agree with the fact that we still have a monolithic export product where we are relying on oil as the main export product, but we also observed in the last couple of months that the oil export volume has increased, the level of oil theft has gone down, and crude price has remained relatively stable at above $100. So if you look at public finance in terms of foreign exchange earnings, in terms of earnings, I think the data that they relied on may have been dated as at the time the report came out. But aside from that, the other parameters they mentioned are still very germane in the country. Issue of weak institutions. They talked of increased corruption. They talked of weak infrastructure. They talked of weak educational system, particularly primary education and health sector. They talked of security situation. If you let's take them one after the other. If you look at the issue of security, you find out that, look, the entire Northeast is actually gradually falling into the hands of Boko Haram. They have moved from opportunistic attack to now forming an army and taking on the Nigerian armed forces. And they are taking on territories. The country is about losing a section of his territory, and I think that's a key security challenge that we have to recognize. The implication of that has multiple impact on the economy. Take, for instance, agricultural production. A lot of agricultural production comes from the Northeast. So we're going to see a reduction in agricultural production, which could lead to an uptick in inflation. Then if you take an issue of weak institutions, they talked about the weak property enforcement rights in Nigeria, and I think I agree with them. If you go to Nigerian legal system and you try to make a claim on your property right, or you have a failed contract you want to enforce, you find that it takes a long time that by the time you get judgment, if you ever get judgment, the value that you're going to recover would have been eroded by time and inflation. So that's a major problem in terms of institutional weaknesses. They talked about corruption. We all agree that the issue of corruption has not been tamed in the country. So when you talk of institutional weaknesses, I think I agree with them. The issue of infrastructure, we still have a huge infrastructural gap. So what kind of infrastructural facility would a country have that will take you 1 hour, 20 minutes to drive a distance of 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers? I mean, those institutional weaknesses, infrastructural weaknesses are there. Yes, we are seeing some improvement, but we are still far from our destination, too far from our destination. If you talk of the issue of primary health care, yes, you could have said, accept the fact that the Minister of Health has done a lot in terms of controlling malaria and controlling things like guinea worm and a couple of the common infections. But then if you go to the northern part of the country, you still see a lot of basic health sector failings. If you go to the rural communities, you see a lot of gaps. Maternal health care, basic health facilities are not there. So you cannot take away that. Then if you talk of primary education, Nigeria is a country that is said to have about 10 million children of primary school education that are in school.
Now, the index also reveals that decline in ranking was a result of weak public finance sector, low margins in oil exports, challenges with strong institutions, and challenges with insecurity. But Nigeria isn't the only African country that is faced with this kind of situations.
Yes, you see, we have to, that's what we talk of. A ranking is a relative issue. And it depends on how you weigh in comparison with others that are ranked with you. There are 144 countries that were rated. 144, 148? 144 countries. And Nigeria was ranked 127. South Africa was ranked 56. Kenya was ranked 90. And we're saying, look, in terms of weighing how you perform, how we performed against these other countries, our ranking has actually worsened. So if you look at all the parameters that they highlighted, I think if I were a policymaker in this country, what we need to do is fold our sleeves and begin to address those issues. There's no point denying that those things are real. Issue of property rights is very real. Institutional weaknesses are very real. Infrastructure weaknesses are real. Health, primary health and primary educations are still very weak. But there are also some good strengths, and those strengths have always been there. Issue of market size. Because we have a population of 170 million, and you're seeing an increased number in terms of the middle income class, you have a huge consumer market, and Nigeria is ranked at 3 in that category. So that's a strong attribute for us. They also feel that we have good labor mobility. Of course, we don't have a labor force that is so unionized as to constrain productivity. So that's on that parameter, I think we rank about 44. So we also have a strong, a flexible labor force. We have a strong financial system that has come out of the 2009 economic crisis. Of course, the strength of our financial system is rather constrained by the fact that the rate of loan availability and cost of lending is very exorbitant.
Now, despite this ranking, Nigeria has seen foreign investment inflows of as much as 82% in the last couple of months. How do you explain this?
We have to look at ranking is a relative term. You are seeing a lot of foreign direct investors coming into the country because we have a huge market. And our ranking in terms of market size and market is 33, global 33 out of 144. So that shows that they recognize that the size of the market, and the size of the market is attracting foreign direct investors. But the questions have not been addressed, which are, if Nigeria improves on its competitiveness, are we not likely going to see a lot more foreign direct investment coming than we are seeing today? It is not enough for us to turn our chest and say we're seeing enough. I don't think we're seeing enough, given the size of our market, given our rank in terms of market competitiveness, our market size. Our ranking is 33. We have a 170 million population, as I said earlier. We have a huge market here. And we also have to disaggregate between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. In terms of foreign portfolio investment, because apart from South Africa, we have one of the most developed financial markets in the continent. And return on Nigerian fixed income instruments is about 3 times return on fixed income instruments globally, in Western countries. And then we have maintained exchange rate stability, which has made our fixed income instrument attractive to foreign direct investors, foreign portfolio investors. And that's why, because they enjoy the arbitrage opportunity of borrowing at maybe 3% or 4% and buying Nigerian government instruments at 12% and enjoying that spread, provided the exchange rate stability is maintained. And Nigeria has shown that it has the capacity to maintain exchange rate stability. So we have to look at the fact that the fact that you are getting foreign portfolio investors and foreign direct investments does not necessarily mean you address all your weaknesses. The issue of property rights enforcement is still very weak. Very weak. I have experience of 2 instances